Hello and welcome to Shay Zasaa. And today I have what is a Zasaa Zooms In, but it might end up being a Zasaa Unzipped. Now, just so you understand, a Zasaa Unzipped is a bit more controversial than a Zasaa Zooms In. Zasaa Zooms In is, run-of-the-mill conversation. Zasaa Unzipped means that there could be some controversy in there. And the reason why I'm saying that it's a Zasaa Unzipped is because of who my guest is. It's not supposed to be unzipped. It's supposed to be straightforward, but I've got Kemi with me. And if you've met her... if you've met her before, you know that she's pretty much totally unzipped. So yes, so we're going to just go with it and see where it goes. But I've put it under unzipped just to be safe in case. So, Kemi. Hello.
Hello, gorgeous. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Today's question,
Yes.
and I know this is one that is really in your heart, is why do we give fear so much power?
It's going to be unzipped.
It's unzipped.
I think on many fronts, though, it depends on what we're afraid of. It depends on what the situation is. We give fear power when the life sets expectations on us and says, okay, you're not allowed to say this. You're not allowed to do this.
Okay, so
you
give
should
me
be
an
afraid.
example, please.
Okay. Again, there are many personal reasons why people do things. I never question why anybody does anything. I only question the expectations you put on me.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm pregnant, I'm not. Just so. I'm not. I'm so not. I'm old.
My life.
But if I was, and there's this, some will say you shouldn't say a word.
But, okay, go on, let me let you
But
land.
again, I
No,
understand.
are you going to
Yes.
say more than that?
I am.
Okay.
So, and I understand where, if you know you shouldn't say a word, you would know. If God lays it on you not to say a word, if there's something, if there's a bigger picture
Okay, wait,
there
so let's
somewhere.
clarify this. With pregnancy in particular,
Yeah.
a lot of people don't say anything before the first 3 months.
Oh, no.
So you're not talking about
I'm
that?
not talking about
Okay.
that. I'm talking about the hiding it because you're afraid. Not hiding it because you don't want people to know, but hiding it because of what you think they can do. Is that power we give? And I know it's a personal thing. So that's why I said it. I'm only thinking about
It's
me.
like I remember someone saying to me, like, I asked her when she was due.
Oh, Lord.
And she said, summer. So I said, yeah, when in summer?
Oh, you want to do juju for her?
That's what, but you see, so this is an African thing then,
Yes,
isn't
it is. It is. Because, you see, as far as I'm concerned, but again, I think whenever we say things like this, we come up from a place of privilege where, well, I hope I come from a place of privilege where people are not trying to do dastardly things to me. Again, there's the ignorance that people don't do these things. There's evil out there. I know that.
Yeah.
I don't need to be told. But I think sometimes, again, if we're looking from the Christian side where it says perfect love drives out all fear, there is nothing you can do me. That stronghold. Of course, I'm not going to go and look at the enemy in the eye and poke your face and give you everything you need. But I think sometimes we hold back so many things because we're afraid.
Okay. So I fully agree with you. And I do feel like this is one of those things where I just believe in the African, and I know I'm generalizing, but in the African Christian setting, I have never understood why we give the devil so much airtime. do you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, if I don't know. I don't.
We
get
make the
it.
devil's job easier,
Yes, it's almost like we give him so much power, and I think that this is part of. And I don't know if this is because I don't, like you said, the ignorance of actually knowing. I don't come from a place
Yes.
where somebody was chasing me in the village.
Where my village people are after me and sitting on the mat and calling my name.
It's the ignorance that I'm using
Yes.
to say this, but I feel like even with that,
exactly.
when you become a Christian and you're saying that you have taken Jesus and Jesus is yours, then surely all of these things you're saying is like. He doesn't give us a spirit of fear. No. Why are we fearing certain things? I don't feel that by telling someone that I'm pregnant, whatever they try to do, because I'm a child of God, why is it affecting me?
Why am I saying I'm going for an interview? I shouldn't tell you I'm going for an interview. I shouldn't, when I'm traveling, oh my word. I'm not allowed to tell you when I'm traveling because you might pull the plane out of the sky. Again, I'm saying there's a caveat. I'm not making light of the fact that there's evil out there. But what I'm saying is, but we have overcome.
You see, my thing is that yes, there is absolutely
Oh,
evil
totally.
there, 100%.
They don't
But
need us
are
to
we
tell
saying
us?
that the evil is more than Jesus?
No,
That's
but
what I don't understand. Are we saying that?
are we saying that the evil is one thing? No, now they've got the last thing. It's like, okay, we need to know Kemi is this, we need to know this, we need to, but there's one piece of information we're waiting for. Or when you're due, or I'm doing a match, bing, I can now come and do dastardly things to you. It's like, come on. It's you see, but again, I'm not even saying, I'm not encouraging everybody to go out of the way and tell things they're not comfortable with. No. But there are other situations where speaking has saved so much. Speaking has opened so many
You know
doors.
when they say problem shared is a problem halved, it's really true.
It depends on, again, sometimes it's sharing with wisdom.
No, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
But again, as Christian, you see, there's some things as Christian, as children of God, I think, part of the course, sharing with wisdom, we know that by now. It's not foolishness anymore. We're not young Christians. It depends on where we've gone past that. So where it comes to, and again, I talk about my son, I'll talk about being on the spectrum. It's like, you talk too much about your son. I thought, if only you knew. And again, I was looking at Facebook memories, and there was a post I actually put up asking, do I talk too much about my son? And somebody put up a post, because again, I'm very controversial. If you tell me I talk too much about my son, I will then ask you. I will ask the general interpreter, what do I talk too much about this child? And somebody put a comment there, and I remember very strongly. She said she went to a school with her son, and she was waiting to, I think it was a new school year, or a new school he was supposed to be joining. And there was a child there. Historically, she would have looked at that child and thought very badly behaved. Your mother can't control you, bad home training. But then she remembered the post I put up about children on the spectrum and what you have to look out for. And she said just then it clicked. And she told her son, we have to be kind. In fact, she was wishing her son wasn't in the same class as the boy because he was very unruly. Yeah. Then she said, he might be on the spectrum. Now you looked on that with understanding. And why? Because I have a big mouth and I talk about my son. So when it comes to things like that and saying, what are we afraid of?
Well, you see, I think for that one, that particular example, I think a lot of people, it's more, well, I guess also culturally, we're not very receptive of
culturally
difference.
with special needs, with high children. I mean?
So it's like, so I guess a lot of people culturally will be thinking, why is she, this is so, it's a shame, as in you are putting your shame in public. Yeah. Why don't you hide? Because they would look at him as
something to be ashamed of. Oh gosh, yes, I totally understand. Do you know what I mean?
And so for them, you now putting this thing that they're you should be hiding away. Yes. Out, like literally in public, it's like, what is wrong with her? Somebody needs to rein her in. You know what I mean? Doesn't she know? I mean, what about her husband? What about her? You know, that all these different things. But I think you and I, unfortunately, well, I think fortunately, but for a lot of people, unfortunately, have a very different maybe upbringing, outlook, whatever. So we do things that are not particularly cultural.
Yes. Again, my mother was deeply cultural. We spoke in Yoruba proverbs all the time. There's one I will say, and I don't know if I've said it before, and I'll interpret it. And she said, "Toba dake, taraya by dake."
You say that all the time.
And I say it all the time. And every time I say that, basically what it means is if you're quiet, everything about you is quiet. But again, I keep interpreting.
But what does that mean?
If you're quiet, your silence overwhelms you. Your silence cuts off all your opportunities. Your silence is your North Star, which it shouldn't be. So when you're silent, you need help. Yeah. And you're silently sitting. And I'm thinking, as Christians sometimes, God is able to do anything, but sometimes God requires you to open your mouth.
Well, he does, because he knows what we need, and he says,
yes,
ask.
The mouth of confession is made unto salvation. So you speak
he expects us to speak.
He expects us to ask. So you sit down there not saying a word because you're ashamed. And I thought, if I was ashamed of my son and I never spoke, I wouldn't be where I am today. Or if I'm ashamed of life or ashamed of what life throws at you. But what upsets me the most is that there's some people out there who desperately need help and won't get it because they're quiet.
But can I also say, when you just said, if I'm ashamed of my son, I feel like, the devil likes silence.
He likes shame.
It likes so the things that you're ashamed of, that you're not speaking about, are the things that he can use against you to play with you later. So it's almost like it doesn't make any sense to me why you would be silent about something that, you know what I mean? And I feel like once you have opened up the shame, then what are they going to say? What are they going to say?
It's okay. It's the same way where somebody wants to blackmail you and says, you've sent me these pictures. I'm going to post it. I'm going to send it to you this. And you think, stop. I remember reading a story about a lady who was being shamed that way. She said, wait, she published the pictures herself.
Yeah.
It's like, so what now?
Yeah,
I've
exactly.
taken away your ace.
Yes.
So I think that shame is like, okay, so what are you holding against me? You're holding against me the shame of, I have a child with additional needs. You're holding against me, again, anything that you're using to buy my silence, I might as well just say it then. It's like, okay, so what can you do with it?
Yeah, exactly. Because I think that's where the freedom comes.
Yes.
When you actually. So I feel like we, in the Christian world, again, I know I'm generalizing, but in the Christian world, there is a tendency to. It's almost like we believe the damage that the devil can do more than we believe the good that God can
Yes.
do, that Jesus does. On the balance of scales, we're actually. I mean, it's very insulting.
It is.
We're actually putting the devil on God's level.
God's level, sometimes above,
Come
where
on
we
now.
think, oh no, I can't say this. But again, there's wisdom. There are times you should be quiet. There are times
Yeah,
where you
yeah.
think, okay, I want to pull off this deal. And of course, in the business world, I want to pull off this deal. You're not going to go and tell the whole world I want to put off this deal and this is how I want to do it, because somebody's going to think, I can do the same.
No, but you see, but then that's not out of fear.
That's-
you see, so it's
yeah,
different.
yes,
Do you understand what I'm saying?
yes.
That's just wisdom and being sensible. You know, there's certain things
Yes.
you're not going to.
But yes,
say.
when you're
But it's
afraid,
not
yes,
fear
it's not
that is
fair.
stopping you
It's
from
not
doing
fair.
that. And I think that thing of it. I don't know if you remember when we were in school, in secondary school, and something happened in the girls' dormitory overnight, and the next day all of them were born
Oh.
again, and it was a fear thing, and so they were now coming to get the day students all to be born
Yes,
again
yes.
because for them it was like, oh, you have, but it was a fear thing.
It
So
was a
it
fear
wasn't a
thing.
genuine conversion,
wasn't a-
in
no,
my
no,
opinion,
no.
because that's not how you're supposed. I mean, I know some people come for different reasons to
Yes,
Jesus,
yes,
but
yes.
it was almost like something happened. I don't even remember what it was, but something happened that put the fear of God into all of them. All of the Christians in the dorm were like, you all need to give your life to Jesus. So they did, but they didn't really have the understanding of what
They were doing and why they were
and why they
doing
were
it,
doing it,
and
because
yes.
they were just doing it
And
so
it's
that
very easy then when
it's
they
that thing
go-
of if you're going to go to hell. That's a fear thing.
And if only we knew how many of us were going where we were going. Honestly, maybe in fact, sometimes I think because God is so merciful. If we truly understood the mercy of God, I think if we're saying we for myself as well, if I truly understood the mercy of God, I'm sure I'll be worse. Because it's like it could be a case of I can get away with that. God is merciful. If we truly understood the mercy that God shows us as children, if you as a parent can show your child mercy for whatever they do, now think of God and think, how much more mercy will God show us? We flip the relationship where we think God is that stern, dictatorial, you must do this or else you're going to the eternal damnation. I think, and God is thinking, really? Is that how you see
Yeah,
me?
I mean, I think it's you see, it's really interesting because I do think that there's a balance. Obviously, there's that side
Yes.
of God. There's that, you have your strict father. If you think of your earthly
Oh,
father,
yes,
you have
yes,
the
you
one
have,
that's
yeah.
strict. He had their rules. Well, rules. That you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But then, in the end, he loves you. So in the end, he
In
loves
the
you,
end,
and
yeah.
love is so powerful that But I think
I think that's where the fear is so confusing then. That if you honestly knew the power of the love of God, nothing
But
should scare you.
you see, I've said this on here before. You know when I said that they born again people have been born again. So you don't fully understand. And that's what I'm saying. I think when that thing of understanding what you mean to God, who you are to God, how God loves you, if you really get that, and I think most of us only get it in a fraction.
In a fraction.
If you really got that, the way you would behave.
If you
the
saw
way
yourself the way God sees you, oh my word. I think we don't, and that's where all this fear comes in. And again, there are times where you get this very clear message from God, shut up.
But Kemi, you're confusing it because when you get that clear message, it's not about fear.
No, it isn't.
That's what I'm saying. So
Yes.
it's two different
I'm
things.
trying to explain because I know that people
Okay,
are
that
going
some
to
people
be
will do it
saying,
not because
oh no,
of fear. Okay,
yes,
okay,
but again,
gotcha.
I'm sure that most people will then be saying, but what you're telling us to talk all the time. What if I'm saying
Okay,
no?
all right, sorry, go on.
Don't let fear be what silences you.
Yes.
Because there's so many answers out there where there's times I've spoken about something and I'm looking for something, I'm trying to do this. And again, I bring it always back to community where you sit in a community of people and you have a question and you sit and you say nothing because you're afraid.
Because you don't want to look stupid.
Who's going to answer you? How are they going to know what your question is?
Yeah.
And then I always say, not even more so for me, but again, if you think that you're sitting in this community and there are loads more people there who have the same question and they're all not saying
yeah.
anything. And then you think, okay, let me pull up my big girl pants and go and say something. And you say something and everybody's thinking, finally, somebody said something. And you think, okay.
What was wrong with your mouth?
What was wrong? Exactly. Why is it me bad cop? I'm bad cop Kemi all the time. But why is it that you had to speak? But again, I think the responsibility on us many times is to feel the fear. Yes, it's okay to be afraid. But it's like, okay, so what am I going to do about it? Am I then going to sit down in this fear, which again is the bondage? The bondage, I think what we don't know is that the enemy will throw whatever it is at you to hold you in place.
Yes.
So if it's fear, if it's shame, if it's whatever it is it will hold. If it's a case of, I don't want to be seen as bragging. If God has done something for you and you don't bring your testimony, and you think, I'm going to tell you what God has done for me. I'll tell you one story, and my husband is going to think, who sent you, Kemi? My daughter recently got a placement in a firm she went for. She didn't think she was going to get it. She didn't think she was good. And I said, okay, I'm going to post the testimony and say you got this placement. Now, my husband normally is like, she's come again, posting her status, posting this. And he said, don't forget to the part where they said she was the front-running candidate. And I thought, now you get the testimony. Now you get the need for us to share what is working. Because there's so many people out there who need that hope. Again, I'm not saying I'm the hope of the world. No, I'm just a cog in God's will where you think, okay, let me say something good, or let me share this, or let me not be afraid. But there are many times I see some posts where it says, a wise man is one who keeps quiet. I think, I don't think that's wise. I think that's foolish. Depending on
it depends on what it is. And I think,
but that blanket rule is what, and then a lot of people jump on it and say, yes, we shouldn't be telling our enemies this, we shouldn't be, and I'm thinking, if you think you're the reason the devil gets away with something, or is able to do something, you got it wrong.
You really are giving yourself props you haven't got.
You haven't got it. He doesn't need you.
Exactly. And he can go straight to Jesus and go straight to God like how he did with Job and get permission.
And get permission. So please, God,
nothing to do
don't listen to him.
Nothing to do with you at all. But I think it's Joyce Meyer that says it. Do it afraid. I think she's
do
the
it
one
afraid.
That says,
Feel the fear, and do it anyway.
And do it anyway. And I think so. It's not that we're saying that fear doesn't exist or you can't be scared, but what we're saying is that we should not, as Christians, be giving fear the power that we seem to give it.
Yes,
well, at least to me, it looks like we give fear like a rating that it has no business.
And we've given other people, and so because of how we see it and how we act, when people then decide not to be afraid, it's like, they talk too much. Why are they saying all these things? And then if something happens, again, you might have told people, oh yes, I'm expecting, and then you have a miscarriage.
Yes.
You see, you should have kept quiet. You should have told everybody, and you think, no, it wasn't going to work.
Yeah, I guess the bottom line is that, do we really believe that Jesus is Lord of our lives?
No.
I wasn't expecting an answer. I'm just saying that,
if we did in how we should believe, even if it's the smidgen, when he says faith the size of a mustard seed, if we don't know how small a mustard seed is, and we're thinking we have faith, and when you see the mustard seed and you think all God is asking for is faith, that tiddly bit.
Yeah.
And we're thinking, oh yes, we are great Christians, we believe with this, and then all you need to sideswipe you is something happening. It's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. And you're giving the fair space. And so no, we don't believe, because if we did, and that includes me, if we did believe as we should, honestly, nothing is going to shake you. It ends. I keep telling people, there are times I say it will end in praise. Sometimes I think, are you sure, Kemi? I say it. I'm very good at saying it will end in praise. I say it all the time. It will end in praise. The journey is just, I won't say that rude word. The journey is just rubbish. She doesn't let me say rude words. So we say, yes, it will end in praise. But sometimes I must confess, you think, okay, can this journey be shorter?
But you see, isn't it, well, okay, can it be shorter? But I feel like that is where the growth happens, in the journeys. And I think sometimes we're trying to... No, but...
I want a short journey.
It's in the trials that we grow. Do you get what I mean? In the journeys. And that's why they say it's not about the destination, about the journey. So some people want to jump the queue and just jump. And there miracles happen and it does
I like jumping the queue. I want to jump the queue sometimes, many times.
And it does happen. But generally, it is through the journey that we get tested, that we become stronger, that we,
How many journeys must we have? Can't we just have one short one?
it's not me that's
Okay,
choosing.
God, I will say extra.
I'm not the one, but I think sometimes that's very key, because I think we. I don't even know why God does this to us, but He does. And so I think the sooner we accept that this is part and parcel of our life, that we're going to go through journeys, and like you said, it will end in
Yeah.
praise, but we need to go through. We can't look, even when you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I am with you. So you're going through that valley, but He is with you. Pull your face together, please.
I know. I totally get it. I do. And I understand how sometimes.
But wait, do you not think that inside that valley you will be scared? You
Oh,
could
Lord,
be.
yes.
But the issue then is that not giving that, saying that, okay, I'm scared, but Jesus is here with me, so I'll be all right. Do you understand? It's like almost making sure, what you looking at me like that? Always making sure that you give Jesus the
Oh,
upper
yes.
hand on the
Yes,
devil, which
yes.
I think is what we
No,
don't
you see,
always do.
I think at one particular point, I'm hoping that God knows the kind of children He has, and He doesn't
does.
need us to give Him the upper hand and say sometimes shorter journeys, God, please. I think sometimes there is no. I think sometimes, yes, and I know we have to learn, and I know I was talking recently, and I said, okay, there's something I need to learn in a particular situation. So until I learn it, I'm going to be stuck in that loop.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you need to learn. You need to know. Again, my coach always tells me, why are you here? Why are you in this situation you're in? If you don't know why, you're just going to keep going
right,
until
yeah.
you know why. So again, I think, but again, that's where the talking helps.
Yeah.
And where if you're in a situation where you need to learn and you're going in that loop, the worst thing you can do is keep quiet about it. The worst thing you can do is say, I'm afraid.
But I think what you have to do is find trusted people, because you have to be careful who you speak to.
Yes,
as well.
oh my word,
Absolutely, yeah.
totally. And I think the mistake we make sometimes, and I know my dad used to say, you should have many friends as the number of fingers on one hand and your thumb doesn't count.
Okay.
So that's your close circle where you know, without a shadow of a doubt, whatever I bring to this circle, it doesn't even, and I don't, it's not the trust anymore, because sometimes we measure the friendship by, oh, I've told you something, don't tell anybody. I think that's like when you're in your
That's
teens.
13-year-old,
Yes.
yeah.
When you're in a certain age, you might tell me something and I think, okay, I need to fix this. I need to be able to. And so you're telling me this in confidence, but I know that the way out is take it here and we fix it. I'm going, oh. I'm so going. I will go.
Are you telling me you're going, or you just go and come back with the solution?
Exactly. No, I'm not telling you I'm going. I'll have gone and come back. I'm just telling you that in case things
case
like
I
that
decide
happen,
to.
I'm going. Because that's how I think it can be answered. But again, we do that. Oh, I can't tell you what's going on. I can't do this. And I think the blanket silence is such a thief of our joy. It's such a thief of so many solutions. Why didn't you say, if only I knew, I would have sorted this out?
Yeah,
It's like, oh
yeah,
no, but I was afraid. Afraid of my judgment, afraid of what
I
I
was
was
just going to
saying.
say, afraid of what you would think of me. Often.
You see, if you have those for your friends,
Yeah,
if you
that's
have
true,
that
that's true,
circle,
yeah.
what else can you think of me? What?
No comment.
Exactly. So you
It's because I can't say it on camera.
I bought her silence. No, but again, it's that we need as Christians to continue to mature and continue to find the space that God has intended for us, to find the position we're supposed to be in, and not let anybody. Again, I keep saying we have such a limited amount of time on this earth. I was talking to a colleague. I work in a company where most people are younger than I am. And I said, and we were joking about time we have left. And I said, I've lived more than half my life. And he was like, oh, because of course most of them haven't.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't intend to be 102. I have no intention. I said, God, if you do, I'm not quite sure I want to stay here another 51 years. I've lived more than half my life. And if we knew how much limited the time we have, because there was once, again, I do very morbid things. I calculated how many years, like 30 years. Let's say I live till 81. Multiplied it by months. It's like, is that all? Is that how many more months we have left?
No, but you make a very valid point, because I think we are we miss the moments.
Yes.
We're so busy trying to do whatever we're trying to do that we're not actually in the moment.
No.
We're not in the, and the time is going.
I said, if I worked it out and I lived till 80, I would like a bit more. Tolu, stop listening. That's my child. If I live till 80, I have 360 months left.
So you see, I love this. I'm going to do this when I get home. So I would then now section off my months and
Yes.
start planning what is happening in each
because
month.
360, we're already then we've done 2 months already.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh, 348. Okay, God, I'm not saying 80. Yeah, anyway.
Okay. Whatever it is.
Whatever
but
it
point
is, whatever the
that's a
time is,
minimum.
put a limit on it and think, live this life. Don't give room to fear. Don't let this silence that we think is the wise thing to do, we think is the Christian thing. Because it's like, oh no, in fact, sometimes they'll say, oh, the same Yoruba that says if you're quiet, silence around you, tells you that it's not everything the eye sees the mouth should say, it's not everything you should speak. Yes, wisdom is the principal thing. There are times where you need to be very wise and think, okay, I'm not going to say this, I'm not going to do this. But that shouldn't be the baseline. The baseline should be comfort and confidence in the God you serve. And again, sometimes, yes, we make mistakes. You say things you shouldn't. You think, ooh, fiddles, why did I say that? But again, why are you looking at me like that?
Because I'm looking at the time and I'm thinking, how is it that we have come to the end of another one and we haven't? Anyway, so what we're saying, Kemi,
yes,
is that we need to understand that no matter how scared we are, Jesus is bigger than that.
Yep.
And we need to stop giving fear so much power in our lives, in whatever situation. So we've touched on a few situations, but really, in whatever situation, God is bigger.
Totally.
Unless you don't believe that. And then that's a completely different conversation.
A trial will convince you. Test and see. I think sometimes we actually have to test God and say, God, if you say you're this big and you can do, show me.
Yeah.
Challenge. Throw the challenge out.
I agree. And he will show you.
He will shock
but
you.
We're out of time. Thank you for joining us. Please follow us on YouTube. Don't forget to rock your own gorgeous.